Hello everyone. The theme we will share in this class is jointly building an industry ecosystem for broader development. Professional entrepreneurs are relatively familiar with deep alliance thinking. The concept of co-building an industry ecosystem is an important form of today's business model, and it is also a concept we often hear now. This model can better gather resources, join forces, and enhance corporate competitiveness. An industry has its upstream, midstream, and downstream components. Sometimes, we may think that those engaged in back-end manufacturing will always be at a disadvantage. Those engaged in front-end brand sales channels will always have an advantage, and those engaged in raw materials will often occupy a stronger position as well. However, this is not always the case. The industry is constantly updating and changing, and as the cycle goes by, the importance of each participating link will also change accordingly. Generally speaking, the number of manufacturing companies is often quite large. Once the production capacity of these manufacturers exceeds the demand of the entire market, it may lead to a price war. At this time, the importance of having customer sales channels is highlighted. Companies with strong customer bases and well-known brands often dominate the industry. Meanwhile, the status of the manufacturer is relatively low, and the sales side often has strong bargaining power in terms of price and payment terms against the manufacturer. However, this situation is not absolute. As the relationship between supply and demand changes, the status of production and sales will also change. When we observe the development of heavy industry around the world, we will find a common phenomenon. Manufacturers of infrastructure building materials will enter a downturn sooner or later depending on the level of market demand. In many countries, steel manufacturers and cement plants have endured competitive pain for quite some time. However, after rounds of elimination and integration, they now demonstrate a strong market position. This shows that each segment in the industry chain is in a dynamic balance process, taking turns to dominate. Changes in market demand have caused changes in the company's position in different periods, which has brought challenges to our business forecasts. However, we mentioned before that, from a long-term perspective, as per capita GDP grows, the market's demand for the entire industry will change. Since the company is a specific node in the industrial chain, market fluctuations may have a certain impact on it. To reduce risks, a safer strategy is to try to participate in the entire industry chain. That is, to participate in every position of the industry chain as deeply as possible to achieve a balance of risks. In this way, when a certain link in the industry is in a disadvantageous position, the company can generally maintain a balance. Let me give you a few examples of how China's very large enterprises operate in this area, as well as their gains and losses. Only after we fully understand this element will we understand why an entrepreneur must strengthen cooperation, build his own alliance, and build his own ecology early. China's home appliance manufacturing industry is very strong. Competition began in the 1990s, and each manufacturer has its own sales channels. At that time, there were two booming companies in China, one called Changhong and the other called TCL. At this time, a new business format suddenly appeared in China, a chain supermarket specializing in home appliances, such as Gome and Sunning. When Gome and Sunning started, they hoped to bring together all kinds of home appliances in one scene. This kind of appliance supermarket makes it easier for consumers to choose appliance products, so manufacturers do not have to repeatedly build their own sales channels. This is, of course, a good idea, but it will also make the large upstream manufacturers uncomfortable, because it cuts off direct communication between manufacturers and consumers. Manufacturers do not want their core sales channels to be in the hands of others, and they all want to sell their products directly. Gome and Sunning went and negotiated with TCL and Changhong when they started. They hoped that these famous brands could enter their markets. At this time, the strength of Gome and Sunning is far less than that of TCL and Changhong. Gome and Sunning received all the negative responses. However, the potential for economic development is unstoppable. Home appliance markets provide consumers with a unified interface for purchasing all home appliances, which is a positive upgrade that facilitates consumers, so they will definitely replace outdated formats. After several years of development, Gome and Sunning have become the leaders in China's home appliance sales industry, and their boss has also been the richest man in China for 3 consecutive years. When the home appliance market chain became popular, it became impossible for home appliance manufacturing companies to enter their markets without low enough prices and strong connections. The status of manufacturers and sales channels has completely changed. After that, the business form has continued to evolve. Online sales channels have become popular. With the popularization of the internet, consumers on JD.com, Alibaba, and Taobao can already place orders online without entering a store. In the beginning, when JD.com was building its own business network, it hoped to cooperate with Gome or Sunning. It is hoped that Gome or Sunning can become the offline supply chain of his online platform, while the online platform is only responsible for online sales and existing offline stores provide delivery. A very good cooperative model. However, business development did not proceed according to the most ideal route. Gome and Sunning did not enter into strategic cooperation with JD.com and Taobao. Instead, they regarded them as future competitors and strangled them at every turn. In the end, of course, the wheels of development continued to move forward. JD.com and Taobao became the online shopping platforms for almost all products in China, including home appliances, while Gome and Sunning entered a state of decline. The final outcome was that after several years of struggle, offline home appliance store Gome basically withdrew from the market, and Sunning was acquired by Taobao at a very low price. They had the chance to participate more extensively in the industry chain. Without forward-looking industrial cooperation, their success was short-lived. Today, giant companies in the world will no longer repeat the business mistakes of the past. They are paying more and more attention to alliances in the ecosystem. They are constantly looking for the future, trying their best to acquire potential products that have just been launched, and investing in potential startup companies and unicorn companies in order to participate in future cooperation as soon as possible. So we should also build our own small ecosystem in the business chain to achieve deep binding cooperation and jointly resist risks arising from industry development. We hope we can establish upstream and downstream alliances, industry alliances, and cross-industry alliances to make the alliance larger and enable us to have the qualifications and ability to lay out future development platforms in advance. The chain is long enough to share single-point risks. Yes, these are the methods of maintain sustainable development through in-depth cooperation. Please follow me to the next section.